Thanks for joining another episode of Playing the Artist, a show where me and my co-host, the second banana, the cream.
B2 to your B1.
Damn it! I had a whole thing I was gonna splurge on. You screwed it up. I was gonna say the cream of my corn, the icing on my cake.
Oh.
The mints that I don't use is Alex Kolakowski. Anyways, this is a show about artists just trying to do that, trying to be artists, playing the artists, rather. And yeah, we got some questions. I got some news. What do you want to start with, Alex? You want to start with me asking a question for you or me talking about my news?
Oh, you got to do news first. Let's go right into the news.
All right. So I've been running this Kickstarter, right?
Yeah.
So I've been running this Kickstarter.
We all know that.
Yeah, it's been going well. I've been trying to figure out how to distribute these goddamn models as smoothly as possible, so it's not a massive headache. So I don't have to go to every email and be like, "Here you go, here you go." You know, over 300 emails. Anyways, MyMini Factory. If anybody's listening to this and they don't know what MyMini Factory is, MyMini Factory is a website where they people will sell their models, and the models can range from, miniature tabletop stuff, cool design stuff, board game stuff, jewelry stuff, all sorts of stuff made by designers. And MyMini Factory messaged me personally, and they asked me if they wanted. But so they came to me offering to help distribute my models to the backers. And the only charge they would charge me is the setup fee for the store front, which is, I think it's like not 45, it's like $25 per month.
Really?
And so, yeah. And there's no setup fee, and they don't take a percentage from the Kickstarter.
That's like, you could open your own store for that much, like your own personal store.
Yeah,
you could have like Antoine.com if you wanted to for that price. I thought it would be free, honestly. I thought they would just
I thought it was
a couple percentage off the sale, but
but it makes sense though. It makes sense, to run a store like that. Like, think about it. Like, it's a very niche market, right? So it makes sense. But I just think of it as like, it's just another thing I can write off my taxes. You know what I mean?
Of course, you'll write it off, but yeah.
But anyways, I decided I'm switching. I'm not using BackerKit, and I'm going to take the offer. I'm going to take the offer from MyMini Factory because.
Wait. Why are those two mutually exclusive?
Because I'm only using BackerKit to help distribute the models.
Oh, really?
And MyMini Factory, they're going to help me distribute the models, and I don't have to pay the $100 setup fee, which BackerKit charges. And BackerKit takes 2% of anything I make from the Kickstarter.
Oh, really?
MyMini Factory, you know how much they take?
No. 0?
They take 0.
That's pretty cool.
So it's like, fuck, if I gotta put my business hat on, and it's just like, I have to go with them because they're not gonna take a bunch of my money. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Okay.
And I'm already gonna be using MyMini Factory, right? I'm already gonna be.
You talked about it. You talked about using it as your storefront afterwards.
Yeah. No, I want to. I want to use it in my storefront because they help promote. They help promote other people's pages. Like, if you want to do a sale, you can like talk with them and like, "Hey, I'm going to do a sale. Could you help promote this sale?" And they'll help, kind of like Steam. Steam with games. Like, if you're like, "Hey, I'd like to put my game on sale," they'll be like, "Oh, cool. We'll bundle it in with these other people that have their games on sale," and they have a little page where it's like on sale games, right?
Yeah.
You kind of do the same thing on MyMini Factory. So they really help. they're not just like a website where like, oh, here's the website, and it's just like people just do their thing. They actually like try to work with creators and try to like help them push their creations and their product, right? So I just see it as a win-win, and like paying that monthly fee of $25 a month is very little, where is a very small price to pay when they're willing to help you push your designs and push your product. And also they came to me, which is really cool, and I felt really, it's very kind of them to reach out.
Well, yeah. I mean, like a lot of these places, that's kind of their thing. They reach out.
Yeah, that's true, but they, but they're like they're like the place, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's interesting.
But anyways, I'm doing that, so I have to write a message on my Kickstarter today talking about why I'm switching to MyMini Factory and ditching backer kit.
So do you know what that's going to look like with that, like for the person who's backing you?
I was talking to a I was talking to an individual that works at MyMini Factory, and me and him have been talking on what's it called again? Just email. And so how it works is that after when this campaign's done, I get a big list of all the backers and all the people that have pledged and stuff like that, right? And like what they pledged, so what tier, their name, their email, and stuff like that, like all that information. And I was like, well, how does this work? You know what I mean? And so he said, essentially was, you just email us that that sheet, essentially, of all the backers and all the emails, and then you give us the models, and then we're just going to send a code out for them to download the model from your MyMini Factory page. So what I'll do is I'll put all the models, like the bundles, on MyMini Factory, right? So I have two bundles, which is the core set and the all-in set, right? Yeah. And then a personalized code will be sent to them, so they can punch it in. They go to my page, and they excuse me, pancakes this morning. Anyways. And then this is what I gathered. Essentially, like they send a code out, and then they go to my page, and then they punch in the code, and then they get the download of the thing they backed.
Cool.
So yeah, and then also on top of that, this will be an easy way for me to run
it gives you
late pledges.
Oh yeah,
it gives me a late pledges and stuff like that. So which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that takes care of a lot for you. Yeah.
Yeah, and also it shows all my backers that I have a mini factory page as well. So now they all know. So hopefully from there I'll get followers for my mini factory page, right? So every time I'll release something on my mini factory page, then those people will get notified of the new stuff I put on there, right?
Yeah, crazy.
So it's just win-win. You know what I mean? It's just better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also, I don't have to give 2% because Kickstarter is already going to take 5%, right? And then another additional 2% on top. That's 7%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's cool. I think that's a really cool plan you got there. Yeah, it just puts you into the next phase, like kind of immediately, where these models start like, going to work for you, and they can be passively purchased, by whomever wants them in the future.
I think what's going to happen is I'm going to have these late pledges open for a little bit, and then I'm going to close the late pledges, but before I close them, I'm going to have a bunch of models ready to submit to MyMini Factory, which are just bundles of different model sets from the campaign from District 0012.
Yeah.
And and then from there, the models will live on.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's sweet. That's good. It's cool to hear about what the how much MyMini Factory charges. So it's $20 a month.
25.
$25 a month as long as you're on the store.
Yeah.
And then they don't take anything.
They take 10%.
10% of each sale.
Each individual sale. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then what about like credit card fees and that? Is that it within the 10%, or is that?
That's within the 10%. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Well, that's cool, but they're marketing for you too. So you're you're paying for marketing in that a little bit, like because they're able to feature you. And when I went to, I just went to MyMini Factory, and you're right. There's like a big variety of, models here. There's like people. People aren't just printing like figures for D&D or whatever board game. There's like practical models like vases and whatever. But they're definitely, when you go to their front page, they're promoting like minis. Like you can see Artisans Guild, you can see I don't know, just other. It looks like their focus is still like kind of tabletop miniatures.
It's probably their biggest seller. It's probably their biggest seller. That's why.
Yeah, probably, right?
I would assume so. Yeah, and I think that's cool though, because then I could do cool things like a Black Friday sale or a Christmas sale. You know what I mean? Now I get to design cool things where it's like, hey, look at this cool bundle, and I make it Christmas themed. Be like, get all these models for 50% off or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also, it gets people that are interested in printing for miniature stuff or tabletop stuff to see my work, right? Because they'll go to MyMini Factory and be like, oh, I want to see what MyMini Factory has to offer. And then they stumble across my stuff and they're like, oh, this is new. What's this? You know what I mean? So it gets my work in front of people's eyes, which is, the most important thing ever. Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, Fabrice, hey man. Fabrice says that MyMini Factory is the way now. Thingiverse it's getting very hard to use, with lag. It's totally the case. I was on Thingiverse and like just yesterday, and I had like printed one of my models, so I was like, oh, I'll just update it. I'll just update the images, and it just would not happen. I could not get a new image onto my model page. So
yeah,
I don't know. I just gave up and went and had a sandwich and left.
My God.
And
it's very buggy, and it's really unfortunate because there's a lot of passionate people on there. You know what I mean?
It's a great service, man. Yeah, like getting free models out to people is like, it's awesome for what it should be, and they're doing work to it. Like the site looks different than when
it looks cooler, looks more newer. But the thing is, like, they gotta fix there's so much other bugs.
It's like the engine is falling apart, but then they got a new paint job on their old Pinto, right?
Yeah,
it's like what's going on over here.
So yeah. So, however, though, even Fabrice saying that like people are going to MyMini Factory stuff, there's still so many people on my Thingiverse, where it's still a valid place to post. You know what I mean?
Of course,
and get people printing your models and talking about your models or asking questions or doing stuff on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, who knows? Maybe it will get better. Maybe it might be a thing kind of like Reddit where, there's better sites where people are talking like forums and stuff like that. But then again, Reddit is like, it's very simple. It's just text and links, right? So
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that sounds good, man. I think I like what you've been working on here. I think, getting your models, like after Kickstarter, getting your models onto a store somewhere is
as soon as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the key. And then there'll be no lag time between the two. So that's great. And you might get featured. You might get found just organically. So that's pretty cool. Like just for comparison, right? Because I did my own web store for my models, right? And I'm paying about $30 a month. And you don't have to pay that 10% later on once the sale happens, but you got to do all the promotion yourself, right? which is a lot of work. So, yeah, I think, I mean, maybe next year what I'll do is hop onto MyMini Factory until, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But I mean, right now I don't have a lot to feature, but it sounds like it sounds pretty similar.
It's better to start now, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Depends how much you think you're going to sell, I guess, and how much your fan base is going to follow you around. Like if they're going to go out of their way to find you on your own personal store.
Well, you just have to put it out there, right? Like once my Thingiverse page is up and running with a few models and whatnot, I'm going to start blasting that out on my Thingiverse page and Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff, right?
Yeah. And you're going to sell bundles, like not individual. You're not going to piece out individual models.
Depends on the model. Depends on the model. If it's like a very standalone model where it's like this doesn't have really any function to it, you know what I mean? So that would be like a individual model you can purchase. But then I'll have like these like sets where I'll try to make it so like each set, all the models are different. You know what I mean? So you don't buy 2 sets and you get 2 of the same models. So I'll make it so every bundle is a different model. And that's about it.
I think that's good. That's good. Yeah. Cool.
So yeah. Now I have my question.
Mm-hmm.
I have it down here on my
you wrote it down.
Note.
You were going to forget your question?
No, it's just to make sure that I remember it. That's all. Which is I'm gonna forget it, but just to make sure I have it down properly. And so a little while ago, you texted me, and you were saying about changing your business model with your Patreon.
Yeah. That's true. I've been thinking about it a lot.
Yeah, and I think it's okay to think about that. I think it's great you're thinking about that. But I think you're missing one thing that you should be asking, and if it doesn't get answered, you're going to constantly be in a spiral of trying to fix things and try to, manage things. And so my question is, what does Alex want? Like, what do you want? I'm not talking about art. I'm not talking about your job. I'm not talking about projects. I just what do you want? Like, what was the one thing that you like? If you're just sitting around and you think in your head, what would I want that would just make my life better, for me? What's that thing? What is that?
An ice cream sandwich with Oreo ice cream in the middle.
Didn't you have ice cream last night?
I did.
Yeah.
It's still what I want. Doesn't matter. Okay. Ice cream sandwiches.
No, but I don't want. Okay, sorry. Let me continue this question. You don't have to answer it right away, because that question, I asked myself that question for years, and it took me a long time to finally answer it. And I've talked about on the podcast what I wanted was. Do you remember what it was?
No.
No.
You want to move back home, and you want to.
Well, it wasn't really that. It was I was riding on the SkyTrain going to EA when I was working at EA, when I was still employed there. And I was riding on the SkyTrain. I was on was wobbling around. I was looking around at everybody. I could see some familiar faces because there's a certain time you hop on the SkyTrain, right? And you see kind of other people that are going to work around the same time as you, so you kind of see the same people. You know what I mean? And you see some new people and young people, old people. And I was just I really hate commuting to work. I really hate riding the SkyTrain. And I was thinking, I was I don't want to ride the SkyTrain anymore. Actually, you know what? I don't want to go anywhere where I don't have to be if I don't want to be anymore.
Yeah.
And I was well, what does that mean? And how do I get that?
That's what you don't want. You know what you don't want.
Well, no, but this is the thing though. Not having something is having something as well. You know what I mean? It's an interchangeable thing. And so when that came up in my head, I was just like, how do I get that? Like, how do I achieve that? And so then it became a quest of like, what can I do so I don't have to ride the SkyTrain anymore, where I don't have to be on somebody else's dime, or somebody else's time rather. And that's what this led to, doing this Kickstarter and doing this work and stuff like that. And so yeah, like for you, you need to answer that question too, right? Because then what will happen is, once you find out what's the thing you want or don't want in your life, then you're going to start figuring out, okay, what's the best solution to try to turn the ship where it's like, this is what I want, so I'm going to turn the ship in this direction and see where it leads me, right?
Well, I don't, like, my wants aren't as simple as like not riding a SkyTrain, because I have, I'm thinking about like, a family to build, retirement to have. There's like long-term wants that I'm also considering here as well, right? And there's a certain amount of like, that's why I'm hesitant to just like quit my job and just
I don't think you should
be out on a limb and kind of.
Everybody has unique situations. I'm not saying to go quit your job or anything. I'm just saying, like, what can you do to, like, what do you want so that the ship will turn that direction, and you're heading in one direction and you just want to like tilt a bit so like that directory just changes a bit, right? You know what I mean? Because like changing a life is like changing a giant ship. You can't turn on a dime. You have to like turn a bit so you could slowly take that big arc turn to that new destination. So that's what it all is. And I'm not saying you should tell me right now like what is the thing you want. I'm just saying like that's a good thing to like think about a lot.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's not as if I don't think about it.
No, I'm not. I know that.
It's just like there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of different things you want at different times. That's like what your personality is. All your personality is guided by wants and what the desire of your meat wagon is at the moment, right? You know?
But also you got to remember, like, okay, what are you doing as well, right? So like the art you're making or the side projects you're doing, like
if you want to talk about just art and just work, like what do I want out of that, like out of my career, like the goal at the end is to just spend as much time as possible doing the work that I want to do. Like, okay, I think it's as simple as that. Which is why.
Okay, so that's the thing you want.
Not just doing my own work. Like, it's not even that. Like, that's not even the right goal. It's doing the work I want to do. Because, like, I think if you're an artist and your career may start doing work for somebody else, and then it gets a little bit better after time. Maybe you're doing work that is like that you kind of want to do, but it's still for somebody else. And then at some point you can transition, if you're interested in this and this is the path you're taking, to doing your own work, right? But then it's still, even if you're Pete Moorbacher, and he's doing his own work, he's doing the work he wants to do, but he's still kind of like 100% of his day pretty much has to be focused on, his Angelarium series, because like, if he doesn't do that, then he doesn't get paid, right? So it's like, there's the work you want to do, having the freedom, like he's at the part where he has the freedom to do the work he wants to do for himself. Yeah. But where he's not yet, where somebody like Rick Baker is at right now, is he has the freedom to do whatever he wants with work whenever he wants, even if it's not something that is like part of some grand like business model. You know what I mean? Like, he has the freedom to like design his creatures or not, or design a mask or do whatever. And that's, to me, what I think the end goal is.
Okay, that's great. So now you have the ideal thing that, like, what you want in your life.
But I do think there's an evolution there, and the path
no, of course
isn't a straight line path. It's like kind of a, like I said, there's a curving path, and you have to make little destinations on
the way. What are you talking about? No, I totally understand that, but okay. So what does that mean? That means you need some sort of, like, you need people to kind of hold you up if you want that, right? You can't just be like, so essentially, I think the next step, what?
You have to convince people to allow you to do this, because really, it's a big agreement, right?
And that's what I want too. You know what I mean? Like, doing this this modeling stuff, it's really fun, and I enjoy it, and I'm essentially like serving people in this community, and I really enjoy it. But there's plenty of other stuff I want to do that has nothing to do with 3D printing. And the only reason why I'm not doing it right now is because I'm not skilled and I don't have the money for it. That's the only two reasons for it. So I'm doing this stuff right now because it's really engaging, and there's money to be made, but I can also like itch that itch of, what was that? Phone?
Oh, my phone's on loud. Go ahead.
And also it itches that itch of, like, making, you know what I mean? Because that's something I've always done in my whole life, is just been a creator, right? A maker of stuff. And I love doing that. And my future projects are created stuff as well. You know what I mean? That are making stuff. But at this moment, I don't have the money to do them. And also I want, other things in my life, like I said, like not riding the SkyTrain anymore. And
well, you've got that.
I got that, but
scratch that off the list.
Well, that's the thing, though.
As long as you don't have to go anywhere.
Well, yeah. Well, I still have to go places. You know what I mean? But, however, though, I have the responsibility to keep working on these Kickstarter ideas, and also my future Patreon and MyMini Factory and all that stuff, to get the privilege of not having to ride the SkyTrain to a company that pays me. You know what I mean? And then hopefully down the line, where I'm trying to, like, maneuver my way to generate funds and generate a fandom and generate people that are like, hey, Antoine, you make really cool stuff, and we'll help you with your next endeavor. And but this is, I don't know when it'll happen. I want it to happen. But the reason why I asked that question to you is because I wanted to, like, get to know what you want, right? Because it seems like you're, like, you have all these cool ideas. I'm really excited for, like, your ideas of your playmats and your idea of, like, the tiles and stuff like that, and, like, this whole kind of thing. You know what I mean? But I just don't know what. I don't know. Like, maybe I should just shut my mouth and let you figure it out. You know what I mean?
Well, like,
but I'm just trying to be a friend, because what I want for you is for you to, like, create your awesome work and do your projects that you want to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm different in that I don't really just, like, want to do one. I don't just want to make, like, characters. I don't want to sit there for, like an Artisans Guild person and make a dozen characters in a month, right?
Alex, I don't want to do environment model stuff for the rest of my life either. Like, there's other stuff I want to do. You know what I mean? But I'm doing this stuff now because I know I can get eyeballs and also give something back, and then in return, I get, to put a roof over my head and hopefully have a little bit of money to endeavor into different projects that I think will be cool and new, and, like, put my ideas out in the world into people's hands,
I guess, I don't know. I'm still I still value that exploration quite a bit, and like kind of broadening my skills. And you know, you and I are in different spots right now, right? You're working.
Also, my back was up kind of against the wall too. You know what I mean? Because
you're working to survive here.
Yeah,
like you true. Don't. This is your only source of income.
My only gig. Yeah.
I mean, you've got more like time to spend on it than I do, but same, like your sense of urgency to stay focused on a singular project is greater.
Well, I kind of burnt the boat. You know what I mean? Like I was like storming the island, about to take over the castle and steal all the gold. And for motivation, I burnt the boat behind me.
Yeah.
So there's just no return, Antoine. Can't go back to daddy's pocket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway. So, yeah, when we're like, we talk about my Patreon, and I think, you know, in the past you've asked me like, okay, if you had, you know, something like 2,000 backers or whatever it would take that you could dedicate more time to it, like what would you do with this Patreon? And I think my answer would be that I wouldn't do anything to it. I think I like what it is, and if I had more time, I would just do a separate project. I'd do a different separate project instead of trying to like cram more characters into this Patreon. Like I'm not using Artisans Guild as like a template. I'm using Angelarium as a template, like what Pete's building. And that's part of why I want to, you know, take it one step further and change my tiers to kind of resemble what he's doing. Because I think focusing on, you know, a singular like piece of art in a month, you know, if you can do it at a high level, then I think that's just where I lean towards.
Okay.
Right. And so what Pete's, you know, his Patreon is, you know, he's got 3 levels. Last I looked at it, I don't have it up right now, but he's got the $1 kind of, you know, that sort of tip jar sort of level. You know, just you can follow the posts and what have you. And then there's the $2.50, and you get like basically get his illustration, but I think it's maybe not the highest res or something like that. And then there's his $5 tier where you just get a bunch of, you know, you get wallpapers and work in progress, and you know that's the big deal tier where you just get whatever it makes with regards to that illustration, right? So you get a little bit more. So that's $1, $2.50, and $5. And it's really simple, and it's, you know, you're focused on one delivery each month at a high level, you know, instead of focusing, like broadening your attention over like 10 different items. You're just getting one item.
Okay.
So that's the direction I'm going. And like when I messaged you, I was also thinking, like, because I was, you know, I've been doing this per release Patreon structure for, you know,
you're asking, is it, you're thinking about having it a pay as you want.
I'm thinking about that as well, because like as I was saying, right, I was on Google, and I'm like typing in like miniature Patreons to see what other people were doing, trying to find somebody who was also doing per release, and seeing how they made it make sense. And I couldn't find anybody who's doing per release. It's like, I don't think it really lends itself to that sort of art.
Well, you're kind of targeting the wrong market then, I think what it is. Because you've said it yourself, you spend a lot of time in your models. I know you do, because they're very detailed and very high leveled. You said it yourself, like, oh, I think this model could be printed for you know, printing enthusiasts that like to make cool sculptures and busts and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there are people who make like statues.
Yeah,
like, you know,
but you haven't been targeting that audience.
Yeah, well, that's that's something that I want to target as well. But that's not the point. What the point I wasn't making is, that's not what's holding me back from changing my tiers here. What I'm saying is, like, if you're making something on a cadence of 1 month or greater, or roughly 1 month, like, per release is not it's just not built for that. Even it kind of sounds like it. It kind of sounds like, oh, I'm making a thing, and maybe it comes out this month and maybe it doesn't. So it sounds like the right thing to do, but really I feel like it's designed for people who are releasing 4 or 5 things per month, because then it's like the time between releases is really short, so it's hard for people to come and go from your Patreon and with a handful of free goods. So it just, as I did this research, it just told me that if I'm going to be in this space at all, I need to be on a monthly
schedule,
package, like a monthly Patreon, whatever you call it. Like, that tier structure, it needs to be the monthly option. It can't be the per release option, because they're just inherently so different. And there's just such a big exploit in the per release. Yeah. So well, and what I did find was, I did find some people doing just kind of a pay what you want, and with if I could easily turn it off and on, I would probably turn it on right now, just because of like what's happening in the world right now. It'd be nice. Like, I don't have a ton of free models to just give away, like Duncan Shadow's doing, like, bless him, right? He's just giving away his like dinosaur pack, for free to download for people right now. Yeah. But I don't know. So I was considering just going to like pay, just pay what you want, right, for the models for a short time being.
Yeah, I got another question for you.
Okay.
So, let me get the correct me if I'm wrong here. So you want your Patreon to be something where it's just a 1 month thing, where it's just like one model and some other doodads and stuff like that, and then you want time to work on your other projects, and you want the Patreon to be like, is it so it's not a main source of income, it's more of like a little side thing, or it's like, so what is it then? You know what I mean? Like, what is like,
here's the thing, like,
the Patreon?
Well, right now it's not a main source of income, but
no, I know that, but like, what do you want it to be?
Like I said, like, Pete's Angelarium Patreon is like, that's the direction I'm going. Like, that's a goal of mine, and so that is a main source of income for him. It's not his only source of income. Yeah. But it's a main source of income.
Okay. Well, maybe, like we've said this before, maybe it's just, you just gotta like keep working at it. You know what I mean? You just started this thing.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying I'm giving up on it or anything like that. I'm just.
I know. Like, I'm just trying to make sure I understand.
Like the reason. Yeah. So if you're like, if you're someone like myself who can make something once a month, whatever it is, but you feel like the odd month, I might, I have other responsibilities in my life, and I might be a week late, instead of going to a per release schedule, you're better off to just do the monthly Patreon schedule, and then every once in a while say, just like, no one's getting charged this month because I haven't been able to update something. And that's what Pete's doing too. Like, that's when I hear him on his podcast, and he's like,
you can do that, of course.
Oh, I need to really finish this piece, otherwise I'm not getting paid this month, right? Yeah. Because that's exactly what he's doing. But I just didn't understand how different per release and monthly were. And the fact that, like, if I stay on per release right now, I'll do all this marketing, for my next model, right? And I'll do all this like promotion for it. And then, so I've got to have it on my page, and then everybody will come, and then they'll get the model for free. And the only people who will be charged were like the 12 people from last month. And then everyone else has an entire month after receiving the model to decide whether they want to just peace out and keep, they have their digital goods, like they can just peace out before ever getting charged anything, right? Because you can't charge somebody up front in that. Like, you can't say to somebody on a per release plan, like you got to pay your $2 before you join the Patreon, right? There's no way to say that in that option. Only in monthly are you able to say, okay, you pay $2 to join, and then every month it's another $2, right? Or whatever your tier is.
Okay, no, I understand that. I get that dilemma. Mm-hmm. Okay, so hang on, let's back up here a bit. So ideal situation, you have time to do cool projects that you want to try out and put out in the world, right? But I think to get to that point, which that's what I'm essentially doing too, to be frank with you, that's what I want to do. But to get to that point,
Kickstarter and Patreon are really different, dude. Like,
no, I understand.
You're doing a totally different. Like,
don't even think about the Patreon and Kickstarter thing right now. What I'm saying is, because at the end of the day, I'm going to sound like a greedy capitalist, but that's what I am. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, you still need, you still need money, and you still need to do some work to grant you that freedom to do that thing, right? So, like Pete Morterbacher, what are you doing?
I'm answering. Yeah.
You're, what?
I'm answering Fabrice. Go ahead.
Well, you could just answer him live right here.
No, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Well, now I'm curious. God damn it, because you were typing away. After my speech, you could have said it. What did Fabrice ask?
He's asking me if I'm charging money now, or do I give my Patreon release for free? And I didn't really give a very thorough answer. But
well, answer him now. Don't type it. Answer it now.
Settle down over there. I do. People are charged, but I mean, there is a price associated to my Patreon right now, but no one's been charged yet because I've only released one thing, and everybody's joined after that thing was released. And I'm about to release a second thing. So until that happens, nobody's getting charged. But I'm not gonna release this. I can't release anything else under this structure because it's just so ridiculous.
Yeah, so people are just taking it and leaving it.
Yeah, I feel like I don't even want to promote my page right now because. Yeah.
Anyway,
so go ahead.
You already said how you're going to fix that. You're going to fix it.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Pete, he does these Patreon things. Mm-hmm. Because it gives him the freedom, like that responsibility gives him the freedom to do his Angelarium series Kickstarter thing he was doing and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So there's still a price to pay for your creative freedom endeavors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would like to run a Patreon one of these days. I would like to run a successful Patreon and do a certain amount of models per month. And so
that's right. But you don't want to do a Patreon such that you don't have the time to also do another Kickstarter. You don't want to sacrifice one for the other, right?
No, I know that, but that's the thing though. You just need to build up your community, right? Mm-hmm. And once you get it to a point where you're like, okay, now I can do this full time, you do this one thing part time, and that generates enough income where you could put a roof over your head, buy essentials and taxes and whatever, all that jazz, and then also work on those other side things.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But this is the thing though. Like, imagine, okay, you're already working a full-time job, and you were already still working on side things regardless.
So yeah, that's the thing. Like the way I'm feeling right now sometimes with this Patreon and why I don't want to expand it any further than it is because it already feels like I have two jobs, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's the deliverables are so tight. Like I was like, yeah, I can do this in a month, but I can kind of just barely do this in a month, right?
Well, it seems like you got 2 points, like your two jobs are going like this, and what essentially you need to do is like almost like they almost have to like kind of bend into each other to the point where it's just like one job. You know what I mean? Where it's
well, I can't do that right now.
No, I know that, right? But well, sorry, maybe that's a bad analogy. Essentially, I assume this is what you want is you want to work on your Patreon and have your full-time job, and there's a certain point where your full-time job's like, and then it just disappears, and then you can just be working on the Patreon and then also other side gigs and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, I still believe that you need to carve out time to acquire new skills, and I think you're doing that too. And even though the new skills you're acquiring aren't learning characters, like you're modeling characters, for example. You know, you're trying to at least, and like, but you're also learning editing and you're learning, marketing and stuff. And
that's happening while I'm doing it, dude. Like,
yeah,
I'm painting myself in a corner, and some might say like that's a bad thing. But the thing is like, well, I'm digging myself in a hole. It's like, guess what? I'm gonna fucking dig myself out of this hole, and I have to because it has to be it has to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, take it from me, like I'm not the smartest person ever. You know what I mean? Like I have difficulty reading and writing, especially writing. You know what I mean? And I use software to help me read and write. You know what I mean? Like I take my phone and I talk into my phone, and then I type it out on this software where it reads it back to me. So make sure I spelt everything correctly and it sounds properly. You know what I mean? And if I need to learn something, there's tutorials. If I'm like, hey, I need to like maybe like what's this thing that people are like, I'm always learning about marketing and learning about art and learning all that stuff, but that can all happen at the same time you're trying to like do your endeavor. The idea where it's like I got to make sure everything is ready, then I can shoot, is kind of it's false because there's a never-ending supply of like making sure you're ready. It's like, oh, I'm not skilled enough modeling wise. Oh, I'm not. I don't have the right 3D printer. I don't have a camera. I don't know anything about editing. I don't know anything about marketing. I don't know this, that, or whatever. Or I have difficulty in this thing. I need to get. All those things are just excuses to takes you away from the action. If you do the action will come out of the action. You know what I mean? And then whatever blocks your way becomes the way. You know what I mean? It's like editing was blocking me, and I was like, I'm not going to make a video. And then it came down to, I'll just do a slideshow. And then it came down to, I'll get some footage and get somebody else to edit it for me. And then it came down to like, no, I'll just fucking edit it myself because I'll just learn it. You know what I mean? Like once it's in your way, it's pretty easy to solve. Like once it's in front of you and you're doing it.
Have you ever heard when Jordan Peterson talks about being in the zone and what that means?
Yeah.
It's when you're pushing the boundaries of yourself just slightly. You're attempting to do something you haven't done before, but you're doing it in a way that you're still succeeding at it. And if your new skills like editing fall in that like zone where it's like, okay, my current skills are here, and your target is up here and you've never been there before, but you can realistically land in here, so you're succeeding. If your new editing skill falls within that range, then that's something you should take on. Like that's something you should definitely do. And I think that's something you should make the time to do. You should always you should be trying to be doing that. But if something is outside that zone, that's when you start outsourcing. I'll just paying somebody else to do it for you, right? Because if you're going to try to do that and then fail and do a real bad job of it, then who's that helping, right?
Well, the only way to know that is
not the failing is bad, but
the only way to get to that point where you're like, I need help with this is to touch it. You know what I mean? To like dabble in it.
You got to understand it, because
there you go.
You need to be able to kind of explain to somebody what you want out of it. So
exactly.
But
like for me, I know that I'm not gonna be programming video games, and one of my endeavors is to one day have a video game, which I like essentially put the money up to pay somebody else to do it, and then explain to them like how I want this game to feel and how I want it to look and stuff like that. And that's okay, because I don't have the skills for that, and that's just the way it is. But you know, I have other skills, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That can complement things that I want to do. And what I'm trying to say is, you'd be surprised once you need to do something, it kind of just like momentum happens, and it like kind of falls on top of each other, and then it just kind of, you know, becomes a part of you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So anyway, that kind of just ended there.
Yeah. Sorry. I don't know. That's all I got. But no, I understand, like you've said this, like I don't want to be overburdened with Patreon, because then you won't have any time to do.
Dude, it's not even at that level. It's not even at that level. I don't even fully have control over it. Like I'll just do things that are like outside of my, like I just need to do something new. I don't know how to tell you. I'll stop being productive, and I will start, you know, like painting or animating or do something that's not what I'm doing, like not my core like mission at the moment, and it's just going to happen. So I need to be realistic about it and schedule it in, and make sure that there's proper time for that. I
don't want to sound like an asshole here, but you got to be a professional about it.
Well, being a professional isn't like being a Nazi dictator about things. Being professional is scheduling.
Who said it was?
You.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't say anything of it.
Yeah, you did.
You son of a.
You did. No, I mean, like, you're saying don't do this. You're saying don't do this right now because, you know, you got this other work to do.
No,
but
I'm saying there's a time and place for anything you want to do. But if you want some results and you have something you want to create, you have to follow through and complete it.
Here's what you're saying.
Move on to the next thing.
You're saying tomorrow, like you're saying tomorrow you've got so much work to do that you should be doing. You shouldn't be playing any video games. But if you're scheduling your life, you know, properly, it's not you're not supposed to schedule your life in like a way where of the day that you think you should have. You schedule your day that you want, that's realistic, right? That would feel like a good day for you.
Yeah.
And a good day for me is, you know, maybe
not finishing like any projects.
65% of that is advancing on work. And then, you know, maybe 10% of that is exploring something new. And I'm going to continue to schedule that in. And I think you should schedule that in. I think any artist should.
When I do that. You know, I do that because I have been working on the 30 days of tile thing since I've been doing this Kickstarter.
Exactly.
I know that. But 6 months I was just working on fucking District 0012.
And then, but like, what happens when you stop and you binge eat for like a weekend? Like, what's coming out of you there? You know, what's boiling over at that point?
That's
not a perfect. You know, no, like you can't tell me that your life is in the perfect balance of that time.
Of course not.
And for me, maybe I don't go and like buy 1,000 cakes when I'm feeling that way. I just go and I just start making random art that doesn't contribute to this like one goal.
But dude, all my ideas I feel like I want to do next, or to like kind of like that I get that anxiety, like I need to start something new because I'm kind of getting flustered with this thing I've been working on for so long. I got my book. I got my notepad thing, a little EA book that was given to me when I was working at EA. And I write down my ideas, and I write down all that stuff. You know what I mean?
Like you told me, you've got an idea for a game, or that you want to make a game, and if you take 20 minutes out of your day to sit down and jot down ideas for your game or rules, or that's.
But that's not every day.
Well, it's whenever, even if it was.
Yeah, that's 20 minutes.
You can take 20 minutes out of your day to do that sort of thing.
Okay. But are you actually taking 20 minutes out of your day to do that thing? You know what I mean? Instead of a whole day. Because I've been there where I've worked on a project.
Dude. I can't afford to I can't afford to not advance on my on these Patreon characters, pretty much whenever I have time. It's quite time consuming to make these things.
Okay. I know it's time consuming.
I feel like you have this image of me in my head of where I'm sitting there.
I do, and I'm trying to figure out what the image actually is. I'm trying to figure out what. Well, no, I know you're busy. You have a full-time gig, and it's not just any full-time gig. You're a lead on and you have a lot of responsibility. I totally understand that, but I'm trying to understand what you're shooting for and what you want, right? Try to figure this out with you, how to. Maybe
I'm trying to tell you what I want, and you're trying to tell me that's not what I should want.
Well, no, I just find it's kind of confusing. I find it very back and forth. It sounds like you want this one thing, but you're reluctant to change things to get it.
What do you mean by that? What should I change?
Well, I don't know, because you know what I think? I just need to shut the fuck up, and I just think you need to go through the pains that are going to happen that I've went through, and then you'll see what you need to do that's unique for you to do. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Because you're in a complete different situation than me. And so what you need to do is very different than what I needed to do. So on this topic, on this dilemma, I guess you could say, I think it's you to travel this bridge on your own to figure out what you need to do. I can, what's the expression? Talk till the cows come home, or whatever, or something like that. I can give my experiences and give my endeavor, or give my can you give an endeavor? I don't know. Give my opinion on what I think you should do, but at the end of the day, that's for you.
What do you think I should do?
Well, you know what? I don't want to tell you anymore, because
it sounds like you think I should. It's I guess what I hear is you're telling me, or you would wish I would just shut up and make characters and kind of become a second Artisans Guild.
You know what? Yeah, I kind of do want you to do that, because I think you'd be really good at it. That's why. Yeah.
So I don't think the world needs another Artisans Guild, and there are Patreons out there
that's what I mean.
Charge $10 a month for one maquette as well. And
that's what I'm saying. That's why
I'm somewhere in the middle of that for sure.
That's why I'm saying I should just shut the fuck up, because you're in a completely different situation than me, and you have a completely different set of skills than me as well. You have an idea of what you want to try to do, and you're trying to figure it out.
I'll admit to you, man, I don't know. I have a hunch out there. I have a hunch that there's a space for we've seen the volume of models. We've seen the volume approach where it's you get 30 models a month.
Yeah, it's a fucking team.
You pay $10. Yeah,
that's probably three or four.
We know there's that out there. I just feel what's the opposite side of that? What is if there's a range, and some people are making 30 models a month, what is somebody who's making one model a month?
You know what?
How does that? There's got to be a way to make it work, because Pete makes it work in the 2D space.
Yes.
I feel like there's got to be a way to make it work in the 3D space. And I feel like if you put enough TLC into one model,
that's a good song.
That's really what I'm doing.
No, I just came up with an idea. So instead of me chiming in and saying what you should do or try out or whatever, I really think it should be you coming to me what you figured out and then letting you experience it. Because the thing is, like, let's say you say something to me and I can't see it happen right in my head, in my dumb ape brain, my big ooga booga brain, and you see it and I don't see it. Well, I don't have a right to really tell you how you should do it because, like I said, you have a completely different vision that you want to try out. Well, that you see something, right?
You do the same thing. You do the same thing because let's be honest. You have your idea for the
Kickstarter, and then you say stuff you should do that.
I'm talking about you want to design a 3D puzzle for D&D people. Yeah. Figure out. That to me is the one that's a high risk idea. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I'm not telling you don't do that high risk idea. Yeah. Because you've got. I'm
not telling you not to do any of your things either. I'm just trying to help you because, like I said, I want the best out of you because I think you're great at what you're doing. But then again, it's like that's for you to kind of stumble through and cross that bridge by yourself, right? Just like I've crossed this bridge by myself. Not entirely, but mostly, right? Because I'm taking this risk on. So yeah, I think what I need to do is I got to shut up and I just got to see you do things. And then you just got to report back to me. Not saying you have to, but just report back to me and say hey, this worked and this didn't work. And then.
Well, I do have questions for you. My big question for you this week was, this Patreon thing. And I think I kind of came to an answer that I want. And, part of it is out of I think it's the right answer. And part of it is out of just a laziness a bit, but the tier, what should the specific pricing of the tiers. And I kind of had two, I almost made a poll on my Patreon page because I had two ideas in my head that I wanted to pursue. And one was to just pay whatever you want. And one is basically, parroting Pete's one $2.50, $5. Yeah. And I think that the free, that just pay whatever you want is kind of just sounds like a cool idea at first because it's oh, there's no barrier to entry and everybody's happy and times are tough right now. But it's also kind of I'm just okay, I'm not thinking about, I'm avoiding the problem of solving the problem of what is this actually worth and what makes sense here, right? So yeah, I don't know because there isn't somebody else doing exactly what I'm doing that I can just steal their numbers, right? So it's
you mean their data?
Yeah, well I can't there's no exact business model that's doing exactly what I'm doing. So I can't just take their Patreon page and then, just apply my art to what their whole thing is. But I think that's good. I don't think, if there is something like that, it's I'm just going to do exactly what this other guy's doing. And I'm just going to, I think that's it's like a race to second place.
Race to second place.
That's the best you can be, right? If you're just parroting somebody else all the time.
Well, was it, Picasso said, right? Bad artists copy, good artists steal. Right?
Yeah.
So, I didn't came up with the first idea to make a sci-fi Kickstarter, right? With buildings you can combine together. It's not the most unique idea, but I put my own spin on it and I kind of took what other people were doing, took their examples, okay, that person did that and he was successful doing that, and that person did that thing. That was successful. Let's try to take those two things, put that together.
Exactly. Yeah.
Try to put my little Antoine spin on it.
That's right. I know I'm doing
for the best.
I feel like I'm doing the same thing. I'm just reaching outside of the 3D printing sphere a little bit for that.
Yeah.
And I mean, hell, shit, we've been copying Pete and Sam, you know, for long enough. We might as well take it one step further, right? So.
Yeah, that's a good point. Not copying, stealing ideas.
Yeah, not even copying, stealing. Outright.
Pretty much.
Let's commit.
Shit, this has been an hour. This was a good talk. We learned a lot. I learned a lot from you. I think I learned a lot from myself as well. Just hearing myself.
We dug deep.
Blabber.
Yeah. And Fabrice was here the whole time. Thanks, Fabrice.
Thanks, Fabrice.
Yeah.
Well, shit. Okay. Well.
What else we got? So next week we're going to be your Kickstarter is going to be done.
Yeah.
Right. And we can talk about. We'll know what the final number was, and we'll talk about next steps for you, and we'll talk about. I guess we kind of already did.
Yeah, but, MyMini Factory and whatnot.
It'll be cool to put a, you know, I mean, you've still got work to do, but the campaign itself will be in the past.
I was making a PDF because they were asking like, oh, can we have a PDF of like all the models and stuff? I was like, yeah, and I was making that, and I was just like slapping it together. I was just putting all the stuff and just renders and just the name, just whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And it looked like shit. And there's this quote where it says it's an old quote from not Confucius, but like an old like Chinese scholar person. And the quote goes, "Pay attention to the slightest detail throughout the whole endeavor, and you will not fail." So it's like, you know, it's essentially saying do your best work at every moment within a project, and you know the opportunity of success will like be there for you. You know what I mean? Like when I was making this, I was like almost done too. The PDF. I was looking at this PDF and I heard that quote. I was like, oh my god, I scrapped it. I started over.
Well, when you started designing it, did you look up? Was there something you had as an anchor point of like this?
No,
this one is doing it excellently. Or did you just jump in and make something?
I was just jumping in because like, oh, I'll just make a thing with some pictures and stuff. Yeah. And I was like, that's stupid. If I was a backer, like I would want something a little bit more, you know, a little more substance, like maybe some breakdowns and maybe some like other stuff and like some written stuff, like a little bit of character, like somebody like actually made this with some you know, love and care instead of just like here's a picture and here's a picture, you know what I mean? Here's the name of the thing and here's a picture, you know.
What might help, like what I have at my desk is it's like a pamphlet of like a Warhammer, it's like Warhammer figures. It's sort of like, did you have a Wish book when you were a kid?
I got these books from EA because they were just giving them out for free. It's from the first two Star Wars, the prequels. And it's literally the book of like the breakdowns of like the concept art, and there's like little descriptions and blah 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 and stuff like that. So I'm looking at those. I'm trying to like make it see like the layout and see what makes it interesting. So it's like another page turn. So it's like, ooh, what's the next page? You want to turn the page, right? So that's what I'm trying to do with this PDF, where it's like, I want to see the next page. I want to see the next thing. I want to see, you know what I mean? So I'm starting over.
That's, you know, it's one thing, but like you might want to look at like a magazine or something that does it well, like, because what you're doing is you're like kind of showcasing like an inventory of like
you know, I know what you mean,
models that are for sale. It's not it's
I got you.
Than like a
anyways, we gotta close this thing, and I gotta go to the bathroom.
Oh, okay.
I got a pot of coffee in my belly that's about to come out.
All right, well,
thanks for joining another episode of Playing the Artist, a weekly web show where you can watch us at 8 o'clock Pacific time during this quarantine. It will be like that for how long?
At least until April, which is only another week. So maybe April. I don't know.
What are you talking? Oh wait, yeah, April's next month. Yeah, that's right. I was thinking.
I think it'll be longer than that though.
Maybe. We'll see. Anyways,
I don't know when it'll.
No further notice. It's going to be at 8 o'clock Pacific time. If you want to help out the show, just subscribe, hit the little bell icon, and you'll be dung a dingle to be reminded.
You're to be tickled every Tuesday.
Yeah, every Tuesday, and see my big round head in Alex's little face, and we'll bicker about trying to be artists.
Yeah.
Alex, where can we find you?
Patreon.com/Tiger Skull RPG. Yeah, there's others, but whatever. What about yourself?
You can find me on Thingiverse, Instagram, Twitter, and that's all just Forbidden Prints. Prints like printing press. Kickstarter's going on. It's 4 days left. Yeah, that's about it. Kickstarter, District 0012. Alex, I'll see you in the next one. That's for sure.
All right.
Or sooner than that.
I don't know.
Bye. See you, man.
Bye.